Whenever you're ready. I'm starting it now.
Did you have trouble?
You're on.
Where you go? Oh, okay, yeah, well, I must have missed it, because I had no problems coming Saturday. Okay, so we're gonna start with Columbus.
You're on, yeah.
Okay, very good. Good morning, everyone. This is gonna be a remote hearing. Hopefully we'll be able to pull this off without any technical challenges. This case was set for 9:30 on our docket. It is 9:36, and the board is convened to consider a Columbus jurisdictional matter. It's case number 21-0129, and the Columbus very elaborate adjudication number is noted on our docket. This deals with the premises located at 10 North Grant Street in Columbus. I'd ask you that if the parties would enter their appearance, let's start with the appellant representative. State your full name and spell your last name in the capacity by which you're here in a representative way. Ownership or the appellant. We'll do the same thing with the building official. We'll have a oath administered to those that are apt to testify, and we'll begin. There we go.
Brad, you're muted. Brad Church.
Here, I'll just hit. Good morning. My name is Brad Parrish with Archall Architects, representing the client for this project, which is the next two cases.
Was that Brad Perry?
Yes, Brad Parrish.
Is Brad
And
Church?
Brad Church is here as well, but he'll be listening in. I'll mostly speak on behalf.
Okay, and is Mr. Mormon present?
Mr. Mormon is not present at this today. Could not be available.
Okay, Mr. Gauche?
Morning, Mr. Chair. Amit Gauche, Chief Building Official, City of Columbus. Last name is Ghosh. And I have Chief Hart with me.
Chief Hart, the Columbus Division of Fire. It's Melvin Hart. Last name Hart.
Fair enough. And Brian Fowler is not present?
No, he's not.
Okay, fair enough. If the chief, Mr. Gauche, Mr. Church, Mr. Parrish would stand, raise your right hand, Sandy.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay, Mr. Parrish, Mr. Church, you have the floor.
Good morning. We are talking actually on two issues with the project that we are working on in Columbus, Ohio. I believe the first one is the stair access control. So we will go. So really what we have here is it's an 8-story building that is a multi-family project with parking below. So it's type 1A construction for 3 floors and type 3B for the remainder. The overall building height is at 85 feet. The last occupiable floor is at 72 feet 3 inches. The concern why we're here today is get exemption from section 1010.1.9.11, which talks about the access control within the stairs and having sort of egress. So interior stairwell means of egress doors shall be operable from both sides without the use of key or special knowledge or effort. So in a sense, because our building is over 4 stories, the ownership would like to add key fobs on the floors for safety for their occupants for the floors. So we have been working with Mr. Gauche on how we can do this and still satisfy the intent of the code. So we are providing key fobs. So on this is the first floor of the parking garage, and we have the key fob located there in the yellow bubble with a knockbox there for access for Mr. Hart's team, Chief Hart's team to access the building. We also intend to install a kill switch in the desired location that Chief Hart would like us to on the project. If we go to the next floor.
Can you explain what a kill switch is?
Are we able to change pages?
Can you tell me what a kill switch is?
The kill switch, in a sense, basically allows the doors to automatically open. So it's just a release of all the doors in all the stairwells.
So that's centrally located?
We have not located a spot yet for it. I believe we're waiting for Mr. Hart, our Chief Hart, to locate that. As you can see, as we go up, we're providing a key fob at at the interior side of the stairwell, so that egress can still be maintained from the floors above all the way. And then we do have it on the entry floor there, which is on lobby 01 there on the right. So again, trying to keep people out of the building, but allowing occupants to exit the building from the egress side all the way up. So and all the information that we've given, you know, kind of shows where we feel that the fobs still allow for egress.
Okay, so can you explain why you need that to occur on the doors for the upper levels if you've secured access on the lower levels?
So let's go, if we can go back to the first floor.
On the upper levels.
So it's really the second and third floor of the garage, in the fact that, you know, if you secure the first floor, that one's easy, and that would secure the whole stairwell. But because the second and third floor do not have it, people can walk in the parking garage, because the parking garage is not a secure garage, and allow them to get into stairwells and go vertically. So it's a resultant of the second and third floor of the garage, not so much the tenant spaces above, or the upper floors of the multifamily.
But you are putting one of the 10 spaces above, or are these only 3 doors in
in working with Ahmed, we put them all the way up throughout the building on the interior side of it. So not on the egress side.
Right, again, so the question, why is it necessary on the residential floors if nobody can get in from the garage that's unwanted? The only people that are able to access that stairwell are then people who have key fobbed into the residential area. And the reason I'm asking is because unfortunately today, you know, the code was developed for fire safety. We have a lot of other emergencies that people need to use stairwells and don't want to go out at the bottom. That's why I'm asking why turn there.
So if we were to have key fobs at each one of the floors in the garage, then we wouldn't need to do the access control at floors 4 through 8, is what you're saying.
You're asking for us to.
Well, I'm not allowed to put it on. I guess my requirement is, or my request is, because I'm not even allowed to put it on 1, 2, and 3 to secure. So
I
if
think Mr. Mriggins' point, and I would agree with him, there doesn't seem to be a need for key fob access on the garage floors, because you don't know where the public's going to park. I don't see a point for key fob access there. I do agree that there's a need for key fob access going up from the garage into the residential sections because you don't want the general public going into the residential sections or floors. But once you fob into the residential floors, why are we prohibiting these people from having access to all of the residential floor? Because they're tenants. All right.
Yeah.
Or is he saying?
Put a building and instead of doing 8 doors, you know, if we were to think about a variance, would we, you know, is 3 doors sufficient enough to get you where you need to be?
But I guess yeah. So if we didn't do the garage, I guess my thing would be if there, from a safety issue of the occupants, if the general public, somebody is waiting in that stairwell when a tenant comes out, that was our thinking, that that is a secure tube all the way up and down.
Well, you're getting secure from the garage, or are you needing to access those stairs from the garage?
For just general egress of it. Yeah, I mean, we need it on 2 and 3 to egress, as an egress component for floors 2 and 3
Of the garage.
of the garage. So that's
Okay.
why the 4, 5, and 6 need to be, the above floors need to be secure.
Okay. And now I understand.
Okay, sorry about that.
And how many stairwells are we talking about?
We have two stairwells.
Where is 10 North Grant? Is that, I mean, I know the building that has all the asbestos, is it at Grant and Broad, and then across from that's the old Carlisle Patchen building?
It is the Carlisle Patch building. This is a new addition to the Carlisle Patch building in the parking lot area.
A lot? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions of Mr. Parrish? Mr. Parrish, have you covered both items?
No, I just did this one first because it was on the agenda first. And the second request is actually on the old Carlisle Patch building. So I don't know if you want to do both at the same time, or.
That's 366 case, which is next.
Yeah, that's the next case. Yes.
Let's keep that as a separate case.
Okay.
Will require a separate adjudication. Okay, so Mr. Parrish, we'll stay with 10 North Grant variance request now, and then we'll move on to Broad Street.
Perfect.
Can I ask before we get to Mr. Gauche, what are the designations for the 2 stairwells that we're looking at adding that locking devices to?
I'm not sure follow your question.
Is it stair A? Is it stair X92? Is it, what are the 2 stairwells designated on your construction document?
Yeah, it's A and B. A and B. Yeah, it's shown on the plan. Yeah, if you go back to the overall plan that we started with, where the parking garage, it shows stair A and stair B.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, Mr. Parrish? Assuming none, Mr. Gauche?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We understand their security concerns, and the 2018 IBC has language in it that allows for what they're asking. So we have no objection to it. The City of Columbus, of course, Chief Hart will speak when it's his turn.
Okay, before we hear from Chief Hart, any questions, Mr. Gauche?
Yeah, Mr. Gauche, outline the conditions that you see, for this, project. They talk about having electronic locking devices on the interior of the stairwell. That, obviously when the alarm sounds, the lock devices are and can also be released from a central location. Is there anything else that you see as necessary?
That will cover it as long as the doors fail safe at fire alarm and sprinkler water flow and can be released from a central location.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief Hart?
Yeah, I'll just, Mr. Chair, echo Mr. Gauche's sentiment. Our primary concern was access, and I think what they proposed meets that requirement, so I don't have any objection to it.
Questions for the chief?
I have a question, I guess, for Mr. Gauche. I mean, so maybe the chief, is this kill switch or release button, is that manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
Go ahead, Chief. Mention the non-spot.
Oh, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, is somebody manning this button that releases the locks on the interior doors 7 days a week, 24 hours a day?
No. Well, are you referring to the Knox box?
Yeah.
The kill switch. Brad Church and I are still workshopping some of that kill switch where we want it placed. And
the key to it will be in the Knox box.
Oh, yeah, the key to it is in the Knox box, and each fire apparatus actually has a master Knox box key. So our access won't be a problem.
Well, I mean, what happens when a person who lives there gets out in the hallway and forgets their key fob? Are they trapped out in the hallway?
Say that again?
If a person forgets his key fob and he's in the hallway, is he trapped in the hallway?
If we forget the key fob, are we trapped in the hallway?
The question is if a resident forgets the key fob, are they trapped in the stairway?
All they would have to do is just push the panic.
Activate the fire alarm? You don't want that.
No. How would they be trapped in the stairway when they could just open the door?
If they forget the key fob, then.
If I may, I can answer this question.
We're trying to
Yeah,
keep
Brad, please.
a stenographic record of this, and we've got conversation going, and we want to make sure we know who's talking, and so.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Smith has posed that question. Not sure I heard it answered.
Okay, I will take that, Brad Parrish here. Because the key fob is located on the interior of the stairwell, the panic bar that's on the stairwell, will allow it to free exit all the way to the bottom. So you should not need a fob based on egress, for egress.
So I think Brad, to answer your question, yes, if you forget your fob, lose your fob or whatever, you're not going around the stairwell. Well, you're going out, you're not going back in the stairwell.
You're not, right.
Is that agreed, Mr. Parrish?
Yes, that is agreeable. Yes.
Any other questions by members of the board of Mr. Parrish or any of the parties, Mr. Gauche or Chief Hart?
I don't think the other question was answered. Is the panic button manned or not? Mr. Parrish?
No, No, there is not a panic button manned. Again, the panic, there's the crash bar that would be on your exit door, just as you would on any other stairwell. But the button would not be there. It would, and if the fire alarm went off or the sprinkler system started, all the doors would be automatically released. And the key fobs would be deactivated.
So an active shooter situation, they would have to pull the fire alarm, the residents to exit and enter different floors?
So again, if they need to exit, they would have to just egress into the stair and go all the way straight down to grade.
Yes, is the answer to your question.
Right, but hypothetically, the shooter's coming up the steps and they don't want to go all the way down.
Then you would need a key fob in that, or the alarm would have to be set off.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, hearing no further questions by members of the board, let me ask my colleagues what thoughts and sentiments are at this point.
I guess I'm trying to understand.
Let me ask this. Mr. Gauche, Chief Hurd, any of the dialogue here by board members and Mr. Parrish, has any of that impacted your position with respect to the variance?
No, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chief Hart, no, sir.
So these are gonna be, he wants to place them on every floor, just the parking lots?
Every floor.
I forget, why was that open? I thought you had it said the parking garages from second, third floor, but that's why.
Can those of you that are appearing remotely, can you hear Mr. Smith?
Briefly, the question was, I believe, was why the second and third floor, or why the upper floors?
Yes.
So the second and third floor of the parking garage, it needs egress into the stair for just general egress. If somebody gets into that stairwell, then they can go. If the public gets into on the second floor, then they have free access to all of the residential floors above. So that's why we want to put it on 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
If you're in the garage and there's a fire, you need to be able to get out of the garage. So those doors cannot have key fobs on them.
Oh, okay. I see.
They have panic hardware in the garage so that you can get out of the garage. So there's no way you cannot lock the door from preventing egress from the garage.
Is there not elevators in the facility?
Yes, there is an elevator, but it's secured by the lobby, which is over here on the left next to stair A.
So you can't get from the parking garage to the elevator without going into the stairwell?
You need a key fob to get access to the stair or to the elevator, pardon me.
Okay.
Mr. Gauche, I'm crafting up some conditions here, but I would assume you would also be supportive of adding signage stating that doors are locked within the stairwell or something to that effect.
Mr. Chair, to Mr. Began, yes, sir.
To your satisfaction, I presume?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. I think we're headed in the direction that the appellant may want us to be headed. We're gonna go off the record, let Mr. Began propose and work on those conditions back on the record, and we'll vet those with everybody here.
Okay.
Oh, no, no issue. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. In person is probably.
Mr. Parrish, Mr. Mriggins gonna probably put on the screen if you're able to see it, and then he's gonna read through some proposed conditions. So I'd like to get your, Mr. Church's thoughts on that as well as Mr. Gauche and the chief.
Okay, I'm reading them.
The variance is conditioned on the following. Number one, electronic locking devices are permitted to be installed on the interior of the two parent numeral 2 and parent exit stairways designated as stair A and stair B on the construction documents. Number 2, all stairway doors shall be unlocked and open in the direction of egress travel. Number 3, all stairway electronic locking devices shall automatically release upon loss of power, activation of the fire alarm system, or activation of the automatic sprinkler system. Number 4, all stairway electronic locking devices shall be interconnected to a central release button in a location satisfactory to the chief building official and chief fire official. Number 5, Knox boxes with keys to open the stairway doors shall be located to the satisfaction of the chief fire official. Number 6, signage indicating that stairway doors are locked and egress is only at the ground floor shall be installed with language and location to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Number 7, the above conditions shall be listed as a special condition on the certificate of occupancy. And number 8, is on the use construction and level of activity identified on the approved construction documents, including the maintenance of all building systems and any conditions required herein.
Okay, this is the time to ask questions about those or raise objection to any of those.
On number 6, I would assume doors that are only locked with a key fob need to be signed, correct?
It's to the satisfaction of Mr. Gauche. If he thinks that there needs to be signs in each stairwell at each floor, then that's what he will do. So
You can work that out with him, but
Okay.
otherwise, you have a comfort level with those?
I do.
Mr. Gauche, Chief Hart?
This is Amit. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, that's satisfactory.
All right, well, the chief was faint. What did the chief say?
I agree.
Okay. Okay, that being the case, I would entertain a motion.
yes, Mr. Chair. Pops up. For Board of Building Appeals case number 21-0129, the appellant is Finance Fund for the premises 10 North Grant Street, Columbus, Ohio. The appellee is Amit Gauche, building official for the city building department. Number A/O/021-010. I move to grant the variance subject to the conditions previously read in the record and noting the no objection of the building and fire officials.
Okay, I think that motion's been properly made. Is there a second? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the variance is granted, Mr. Parrish, on those conditions. I'm assuming we have the same lineup for the second case. So I'll just call that, just to remind everybody, that you're still under oath. This is case number 21-0133. The premises is different because it's the existing building, which is 366 East Broad Street. Again, this is a Columbus matter, informal communication noted on the docket. Obviously, administered an oath and you remain under that. Mr. Parrish, you have the floor.
He's muted.
As discussed in the, this is the existing building or the old Carlisle Patch building. This building is a 3-story structure with a basement, 3B construction. It has mixed use, A, 3, and B on the first floor, and R2 on floors 2 and 3. The building will be fully sprinkled with a 13 system. And why we're here today is during construction, it was discovered that the roof of this structure had sort of starting at its midpoint of it had a roof buildup basically with wood framing. As shown on our application, there's a photo there. So What we saw from the third floor looking up was a concrete deck, pan deck. And when you actually explored and tried to make penetrations through that, there was a cavity at a minimum of 12 inches up to 2 feet there above the concrete deck to help with just general roof sloping. So we're here today, obviously with a full 13 system throughout the building. It would require that sprinkler systems be installed in this cavity space. And the intention for the project was to not replace the existing roof membrane, as it was a fairly new roof to this building, as well as relocate additional equipment to gain access to install the cavity, install the fire system within the cavity. We would also have to heat that cavity as well, unless we did a dry system for just that small area here. So in working with Mr. Gauche here, we are amenable to, on the third floor here, switching to an ordinary hazard on the third floor in order to have a little bit more coverage, for the third floor adjacent to the roof. The proposed use, which is R2 on that floor, all the demising walls go to and are sealed at the concrete deck. So there is not communication between the units from the third floor to that cavity space. So that was also kind of an important thing. We also, on the roof, we did open up sort of a 12-inch area to install draft stopping, so that the roof cavity would be less than 3,000 square feet on either side, one on the west, one on the east side. So those were the steps that we that we're looking to sort of an alternative design to providing fire suppression within that cavity.
Okay, questions of Mr. Parrish?
Yep.
Is there thoughts of adding any detection in that area or no?
So that was yesterday. The fire chief, he and I had a discussion about early detection in that cavity space. I spoke with our electrical engineer. Smoke detectors would require access for general maintenance, and obviously access underneath the concrete deck. That's a 4-inch concrete deck, pan deck there. So I don't necessarily want to create access points that where fire rating comes. So the only access point would be up on the roof. So we were looking at the idea of heat detection, and in talking with the electrical engineer, about 30 feet on center for heat detection, in which then we would have to do like a 12 by 12 doghouse up on the roof membrane, to gain access if we wanted for the future. But the heat detection really doesn't require just general maintenance or maintenance later on or access to. But we did not settle on anything as of yesterday, on that requirement. But that's kind of the further information that I have found. And so I think it would cover, 6 heat detection or heat detectors would be required to cover the area.
I'm sorry, you said 6?
6, yeah, there would be three per, 3 for the west side, 3 for the east side on either side of the draft stopping.
Any other questions, Mr. Parrish?
I have a question. What is detail 4 and detail 5? Are they cutting holes into the attic?
Yeah, this is the detail. Yeah, this was the draft stopping detail that we worked out with Ahmed.
Okay, Mr. Ghosh?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Happy to hear from the city building.
Um, Mr. Chair, were you asking me to comment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. We have seen these kind of configuration in older buildings where they got away from the built-up roofing and built slope roofing using wood. And to Mr. Mriggins' point, some buildings do provide early detection system, and I'm not going to suggest to Mr. Parrish how to design his. I have seen air sampling, I've seen beam detection, and heat detection probably will work just as well. So when we see what design they propose, we could probably work with them. Other than that, we have no objection.
Okay, Chief.
Yes, sir. I discussed this at length with Mr. Gauche and them agreeing to go from a light to ordinary hazard quells a lot of concerns, especially with that existing concrete. And we're going to research some further code that supports what Mr. Gauche said about the built-up roofs and the sloping. So I'm in agreement with Mr. Gauche here.
Okay, Chief, you were faint. I hate to indulge you, but can you take another shot? Our court stenographer.
No problem. Mr. Gauche and I have been in conversations about this for about a week or two, and with Archall agreeing to go from a light to ordinary hazard and increasing their sprinkler coverage, coupled with that concrete barrier, we're looking into some other codes that support that back up the slope roof design. So with that being said, I'm fine with the official Mr. Gauche has agreed to.
Okay, questions of either Mr. Gauche or the chief by members of the board? Okay, thoughts, comments?
I think I would support the variance with some type of detection system in that void space, that cavity.
This is Chief Hart again. There was one other thing I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Parrish and I also discussed some intermittent coating, some fireproofing coating in that space as well.
Okay, thank you.
Said if it's a detection system, there's no maintenance. Look at it. True. I mean, I'm open to discussing the.
Yeah, I see the point. And what we're talking about is adding some heat detection. You don't want to do maintenance through the roof. No, right? And if we punch access panels through the concrete thing, we're actually creating a little bit more of a problem. So that.
Why can't they go through the walls on the building on the top? It looks like it's laid out to where you could at least punch out three, put one out here, one out here, and one out there. Cause that looks like it's sitting on the deck, right? That building that sits on top of it. I mean, you might not get coverage all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than nothing, I'm thinking, but.
You would have to know where that force sits relative to that concrete thing to see if there's even enough space to be able to get those stuck in there.
Yeah, I mean, this drawing looks like it's sitting on the deck.
Yeah.
And then the roof is actually the 1 foot to 2 foot up, whatever.
Yeah, but I don't know that. It could be the bottom of the stair could be sitting on the deck, or it could be above the deck and there's space there.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell from the drawing. Here's my thinking, though. There's nothing, I mean, there is wood in there, right? But there's no ignition source. And even if it does catch fire, it's compartmentalized and it's also protected, the floor below is protected by a concrete slab.
We're still on that one.
Yeah.
Mr. Parrish, does that concrete slab go all the way to the outside brick of the building
Yeah, yes, it does.
with no voids in it?
No, there's no voids.
I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I mean, I think we should have a, minimum of one heat detector in each compartment. Have them figure out a way to do it, that's fine too.
I'm not sure how these work. Can't they just drill a hole up through the concrete or use?
Then now you're cutting a hole through the thing that's protecting
How much do they need?
you gotta maintain it, which means you gotta get a hand up there and be able to test it.
Probably at least a 12 by 12
Yeah.
scuttle hatch, whatever.
Yeah, they probably just had boxes.
They can, but now we're punching a hole through there,
Yeah.
causing another
No, it's not,
pathway for fire to get up there.
it's not as simple as drilling a hole and shoving a wire through.
Right, right.
Can they use?
Chief, did you mention something about spraying that with, fire retardant in that void space?
Yeah,
And if I could speak on that, I mean, I did discuss that at that point. I mean, again, it's gaining access. We would have to rip up the whole roof and rip up all the sheathing to spray all the wood. So we're back to kind of square one if we have to do the intimesic paint on the wood as well. So I mean, that at that point, it would be put the sprinkler system in.
Can you paint a picture for me in terms of how this void space is constructed? I mean, is it all wood?
Yeah, it's in the section, so it's the concrete pan, so it's about 4 inch at its minimum. It's a little thicker, obviously, in the thickest part of the pan. And then there are just wood sort of trusses that are built up on top that help slope the roof area to the drains.
Okay. Are there any utilities or anything up on this roof?
Utilities, I mean, there was not.
Only existing stuff.
Yeah, there's just some existing piping that most of that has been abandoned at this point because we're running new, because there used to be a water chiller up there that we're abandoning from the project. So we're kind of cutting all those lines and fire sealing any of the existing penetrations that we may have.
So there's no HVAC up there?
The residential units will have their condensate lines running through, but again, we have the fire seal details, on our documents for those, just as you would in any other residential project.
You're just cutting the drain lines down through the roof and patching the roof?
The drain lines we're keeping the existing drain lines. We're not touching those. So again, we're going in and fire sealing around those to make sure that those are secure as well.
Yeah, I would have a condition that all penetrations through that concrete roof structure are treated like they're going through a fire barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we need to move the needle then. Where are we?
I mean, I think it's really, if we want to say, hey, we want to add that heat detection, I think that's the outstanding item.
Access, correct?
Yes.
And maintenance.
You see the details 3 and 4 of that's not access.
The electrical. or something, does that?
What's is that the top of the stairway or access, or is it a mechanical room that's shown on the drawings?
That is one of the mechanical chases through the slab, through the roof all the way. And that's in the corridor area. It's not within a dwelling unit.
Connection up there?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Is it sprinkled that room up top, and is there a fire hose connection up there?
Oh, yes, the mechanical room, the standpipe does go to that room above, and that room, the elevator room and mechanical room are provided with a sprinkler system. Yes.
The fire's got access.
Yeah. I mean, it's only a 3-story building, so I'm sure they got it, but.
Ladder, and that's not it.
What were you saying, Paul?
Contradict what I previously said, but I can probably see my way past the detection system in that fluid space. I mean, I agree with all the more holes that you create in the floor decking, the concrete decking, the more issues. And the fire's gonna, it's not gonna burn down.
Yeah.
So it's a short enough building that the fire department can ladder it from an aerial truck without having to even go on the roof if necessary. Like you said, there's a standpipe and the area where there most likely would be a fire in the mechanical or elevator. Frankly, the fire department access is tight. I could variance with just the conditions that we outlined so far without the detection system.
Mr. Gauche and Chief Hart, you were able to dialogue with members of the board. Is your position the same?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the early detection, we have no objection.
I mean, that's what we're debating. I mean, we're kind of the opinion that the early detection system is potentially creating more of a hazard in terms of access or holes through the concrete decking than what may be worthwhile.
Agreed. I'll let Chief Hart speak to that.
Yeah, I see your point, and someone that made the comment about fire not burning down, in fact can. So, I won't, speak too many specifics, but, you're right, creating more void spaces would probably be more of a problem. And it is a small area, and I do agree with the likelihood of a fire starting in a mechanical room is much greater than this small space. But there has to be some sort of compromise to where that area has some semblance of protection.
Okay, let me go back to the architect. Is it possible to add at least one heat detector in each of those compartments that you can get access to? And you might be muted.
Sorry. Here we go. Yeah, we would be agreeable to one detector in each 3,000 square foot cavity.
And then going back to the chief, would a single detector in each compartment be satisfactory, or do you want to see more? I'm trying to accommodate it to make sure that we're not cutting the roof slab, which is actually protecting the lower floor, that space into Swiss cheese, right?
Right. Yeah, that would be satisfactory, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Okay. We'll kind of off record for a second. We'll go through the same sort of drill that we did with the adjacent parcel. So we're off record.
Variance is conditioned on the following. Number one, the automatic sprinkler system shall be permitted to not be installed within the interstitial space between the concrete roof structure and the roof, parent attic space, and maintain status as a fully sprinklered building. Number two, the automatic sprinkler system shall be designed as an ordinary hazard on the upper floor of the building. Number three, all penetrations through the concrete roof structure shall be protected similar to penetrations through a fire barrier according to Ohio Building Code Section 714. Number four, the attic space shall be compartmentalized with draft stopping to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Number five, heat detection shall be installed into each attic space compartment to the satisfaction of the chief building official and chief fire official. Number six, this variance is granted based on the use, construction, occupant load, building area, and level of activity identified on the approved construction documents, including the maintenance of all building systems and any conditions required herein.
Okay, Mr. Parrish.
I have no questions or comments as written.
Chief and Mr. Gauche?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm satisfied.
Yes, Chief Hart, I am as well.
Okay. And with that, I'll entertain a motion.
The appellant is Finance Fund for the premises 366 East Broad Street, Columbus, Ohio. The appellee is a Gauche building official for the City of Columbus Building Department and adjudication order number A/O2021-012. I move that the variance be granted, subject to the conditions previously read in the record and noting the no objection of the building and fire officials.
Okay, that motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, gentlemen, the variance is passed and granted on those conditions. Is there anything else to come in front of the board with respect to this appeal? Hearing none, thank you. And
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Hi,
Susan?
hi, Rob. Thank you for calling.
Hi, Susan.
We'll
You
get-
called in.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye-bye. All right. We'll get started in a moment.
Sure.
Hi, Rob.
Hello.
Thank you for calling.
Hello.
We'll get, yes, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Rob, are you connected as well?
Yeah, I've got a camera on.
No, you're called in, so you're going to need to mute your computer. It's about 10 seconds behind what's actually occurring.
All right. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thanks. Rob, are you connected as well?
Yeah, I've got a camera on.
No, you're called in, so you're going to need to mute your computer. It's about 10 seconds behind what's actually occurring.
All right. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, how's that?
Much better, thank you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, we're going to call our last active case on our docket today, which is a Miami County matter. This is being conducted part remotely with respect to the building official, and then partly in person with respect to the appellant. This is case number 21-0141, Guilford for Western Auto True Value Hardware Facility or premises located in St. Henry, Ohio. Again, this is a Miami County Building Authority matter, and the adjudication numbers noted on our docket. Let's have an introduction of the parties, beginning with the appellant. State your full name, spell your last name, capacity by which you're here in a representative way. We'll do the same thing with Mr. England. We'll have our court reporter administer it.
Sean Dorston, Dorsten, H.A. Dorston Incorporated, is a general contractor.
D-O-R-S-T-E-N, okay.
Lee Kenning, Kuenning. I'm president of Western Ohio True Value Hardware, and I'm also a assistant chief of the New Brigham Fire Department with 18 years of experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. England, would you enter your appearance, please?
Sure. Rob England, ROBENGLAND, Chief Building Official, Miami County, Ohio.
Okay, if you would stand where you're situated, and I'd ask the gentleman here to speak as well. We'll have another minister.
Please make your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Dorsey. And make sure that Mr. England's able to hear you, and it sounds like.
So I guess I'll go, as the building owner in the project. This is the second time we've done a construction like this. We're being requested to add a firewall and suppression system into a greenhouse, which in my background will tell me that is ineffective. The design of this greenhouse is that at a certain temperature, the roof is going to open to allow heat to escape, basically rendering any kind of suppression or even alerting almost, ineffective, right? So I feel that the two requests that they have made are going to be ineffective in use. That is why we are appealing the fire suppression and the wall.
Questions, Mr. Kenny?
Yeah, I need a little bit of an explanation. Explain the pictures that you submitted, because I see pictures of the greenhouse and then it's next to a.
Certainly, those pictures are of an existing structure that we just completed. within the last 2 months. And we are doing the exact same construction type at a second location. Those were provided so that you would be able to understand the type of structure that we are putting up with the plastic ceiling and walls. And we're doing the exact same thing. That's why we provided those pictures, so you have an understanding of what we are actually doing.
So it's not on this parcel.
It is. That's correct. Further down on the list, you will see pictures of the existing building that we will be going next. It's an empty, obviously grass now because the project has not begun, but you will see the building that we're discussing.
If I might add, the existing building is a pre-engineered metal building structure, approximately 16,128 square feet. And the greenhouse addition is 4,700 square feet. The construction type of that greenhouse is the pictures that you see.
The existing building is also 100% sprinkled with a wet system.
Are those gasoline heaters in that,
In the pictures that you're seeing, yes, those are gas-fired furnaces that are there to basically provide a little bit of heat in the spring to keep it from freezing. The other thing would be is that this is a temporary structure. It's only going to be used for a couple months in the spring. The purpose of the building is just retail sales of green goods. Drugs.
It does have walls.
It does have walls, yes.
So you heat it in winter?
We only heat it in the spring when there are flowers actively in there. So basically from the 1st of April until we are beyond the point in time where we have freezing or frost.
where's this greenhouse gonna fall into that metal building?
Directly alongside the building.
Cause it doesn't look like it's as tall as the concrete building they have in the other picture, but.
That's correct. The roof lines, as far as the greenhouse and the new building, the steel building, are approximately the same as far as the gutter height.
What's the roof on the metal building?
Standing seam.
It's what?
Standing seam metal.
Any other questions?
Yeah, have you looked at what it would take to make that fire barrier between them?
Approximately $75,000 cost for
That's a
a,
lot of drywall.
that was a masonry.
Okay. Did you look at a drywall fire barrier?
We did not look at drywall, due to the fact that it's outside, in that area. Right up against the existing building now. We do have a gutter.
We also have a lot of water, moisture in their sprinkler system, spraying both plants and stuff like that. That's why drywall is not.
Taking off the metal siding, drywalling two sides of that wall that's there, putting the metal siding right back on top of it?
Oof.
Did not look at the cost of that, but,
Seems like more worth it.
it'll be,
More work than tearing down the existing wall and building a masonry wall, I'd have that.
the existing, we were just gonna build that firewall right next to the existing.
And I would argue that there's not going to be a fire load in this building to even create any kind of a reason for the firewall.
Except for baskets, boxes. I've been to garden centers like this before, I think, and, you get things in boxes. You got to unbox, you
Not-
leave in there.
Not
Planting?
generally, not at this case. No.
Right.
They all come in live good on racking with the only really thing would be the plastic container that they're in. But also that container is, full of dirt and water.
You don't sell hoses,
We
you
do,
don't
but
sell
all
little
of that,
tiny fence things.
all of that, sir, is inside of the structure.
None of the garden stuff that is
That's-
associated with garden is gonna be in this structure.
All of that space, all that's going to be out in front of the structure. I also, in a way, I'm doing the exact same thing today. I have a poly structure, right, a temporary structure. The exact same thing. All I want to do is put up a more permanent structure that I can have better, or be able to control so that when I have frost, I don't have to worry about bringing plants inside and out.
Okay, Mr. England, what are your, thoughts on this?
Yeah, so our thoughts is it just doesn't comply from a code standpoint. It doesn't comply with the allowable area, table 506.2, nor does it comply with the sprinkler requirements of 90327. So they have not proposed to install a sprinkler in the new addition or build a fire barrier between the existing and the proposed. So therefore, that's why we rejected it.
Well, yeah, we
But
understand how you adjudicated it.
I think the simplest solution, I'm not trying to design anything, would be a drywall fire barrier, 2 layers of 5/8 as a separation. That's what, I mean, it's not my call, but that seems to be the easiest to me.
Okay, questions of Mr. England?
What are your thoughts, and I know it's not necessarily on here, but Helen testimony is that you didn't want to put a fire detection system out there either. What are your thoughts on that?
Is that for me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Yeah, the appellant says that they don't think that a fire detection system was put in there either. What are your thoughts on that?
In lieu of a sprinkler, is that what, in lieu of a fire barrier, is that what we're talking about?
If I may add,
Yeah, go ahead.
talking with the owner, he would agree to, in lieu of a sprinkler or a firewall, to do some type of fire alarm, fire watch type system.
Okay. I don't know if I have any more questions.
Any other questions, Mr. England? Any questions of the appellant? Okay. I'll take it.
My initial thoughts are that there is less expensive way to do it in some type of a fire barrier between them. Not sprinkler, not fire barrier, not putting the fire alarm system in. Way too much. It's a greenhouse. Yeah, but I can also see things for multiple different, right? So I would like to, myself, I'd like something in fair fire. I would be okay with, the for the sprinkler system.
Okay.
I agree that the sprinkler system doesn't make sense, but I think as Paul indicated, an alternative design with fire barrier and I'm adamant, I should say adamant, but I think extending the fire alarm system in the greenhouse. Requirement.
Russ?
I agree with my colleague.
Brad?
The letter from the fire chief says, pretty much what you're saying, that a fire sprinkler system doesn't make sense. If you would accept another needs a fire prevention solution like a fire alarm system.
What's your instructions?
Significantly delayed.
Because of supply chain?
No, because of this.
Well, I was just saying, I just didn't know if a continuance to try work an alternative.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, get Mr. Engel on board.
Just table 601, building type construction type 2B, according to this has a 0 fire rating, 0 hour fire rating.
It's the fire area of the whole building, combined greenhouse.
Even with 2 separate structures.
2 separate structures requires a fire barrier. firewall between them to be accounted for as two separate, as two separate structures. There's no fire barrier. It's no different than adding a covered patio to a restaurant. Right? If it's open to it and it's covered, it's part of the building area. That's what's triggering it, not the construction time.
To answer Mr. Schneider's question about the construction, the original game plan was to get all of the foundations completed here before winter. The structure is on site. You wanted to be up and running
Wait for the blessing.
by spring.
Yeah, spring.
You want to throw out a few conditions here and see if it flies. Do that.
Almost done.
You're gonna just tie it in underneath that gutter, probably, now you have to lower the thing.
As far as the original structure itself,
Yeah.
you have a tying the downspouts into the existing.
Are you talking about
The greenhouse would be higher than the metal building.
Correct.
And the downspout from the greenhouse are going into the existing. Correct.
and then there, we just have a rubber transition to shed the water.
Oh. Yeah, you know what I mean.
All right, I did put them up on the screen for Mr. England. Let me take a shot here. Variance is conditioned on the following: number one, a fire barrier shall be installed between the existing building and the new greenhouse structure to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Number two, an alternate fire alarm system shall be installed and maintained comprising of a remote annunciator, system smoke detectors, with integral detectors throughout the entire greenhouse structure, audible/visual alarm notification devices throughout the entire greenhouse structure, and pull stations, identified means of egress. Number three, the alternate fire alarm system shall be required to be monitored in the manner approved pursuant to OBC 901.6. The alternate fire alarm system and off-premise monitoring shall be considered required systems and listed as such on the certificate of occupancy by the building official. Number five, the alternate fire alarm system and off-premise monitoring shall be maintained as required systems utilizing the Ohio Fire Code and adopted NFP standards. And number six, this variance is granted based on the use, construction, occupant load, building area, and level of activity identified on the approved construction documents, including the maintenance of all building systems and any conditions required here.
You need to look at it. Look at it. Okay, you know. I disagree with the firewall. I disagree with it. It's ineffective and it's a waste of material and time and labor.
Mr. England, any comments or thoughts with respect to the proposed conditions?
I agree with the proposed conditions.
Well, I mean, here's your options, right? You can, seems like everybody would be on board, with the proposed condition. That being said, what are your opinions to try to convince Mr. England that he doesn't think fire barrier is needed and come back and have his support? Or alternative, or some other alternative, an additional safety system or something that's satisfactory and as a replacement of that fire barrier. I don't know. Going an additional sprinkler line down there to belly jet side or all kinds of different things that you could put as an additional thing. Easily
this allow you to do that if you wanted to take some more time to go back and into it.
Our next hearing's on the 7th, which is next week. It's gonna be in Worcester.
Beautiful.
So, I mean, are you basically saying that it's bad, it's, if we want to come up with a different solution or whatever?
Rather than us vote, we're either gonna hold the adjudication order or we're gonna grant you that relief from the adjudication order. Imposing that condition, which you disagreed. So that leaves you all. And either vote, but just uphold the adjudication order and start over. Or you walk out of here with that condition imposed, or you do a timeout, and you can accommodate you as early, like speaking that line, as early as you said.
You can add it if you need to.
So I would ask now, and be willing to forego the firewall. Take that out.
Well, you can't answer that question because you're practicing law, but Mr. England,
Yes.
did you hear the question from Mr. King?
I guess,
The audio is breaking up on my end. I heard
is there any
firewall.
instances that you would, not want to see the fire barrier?
Or are there any alternative imposed condition that would obviate the need for the firewall? I'm gonna put you on the spot. I mean,
Well, as far as code compliance, I think it needs the firewall, unless the board agrees to an alternative method. I guess that's not to put it back on you guys, but I'm, I don't think it's code compliant without the firewall. Is that, do you agree?
We're not asking you to re-adjudicate the matter and reverse your determination. We're just, we're about it. The board here, we're the board of discretion, where we have the ability to use our discretion to grant relief from compliance based on this, that, and the other. And
Sure.
we've teed up this, that, and the other. It's just that this, that, and the other doesn't meet the satisfaction of the appellant. So we suggested that we could kick the can down the road a short bit, and maybe you and the applicants can huddle and maybe an alternative to the firewall condition. And Mr. Keening just said, well, are there any circumstances by which you might agree to that? And what you've indicated is, I'm not going to re-adjudicate this. But so it's really up to you. I mean, I think, let me ask my colleagues, in light of the objection to that condition, we need more active upholding to the adjudication.
I mean, I still think, request for not having two of the required systems, and then you out here with that having to be one of them. I would think that's better than nothing, but, we are willing to put the fire alarm system in.
Yeah, I have no problem with doing the monitoring of the system,
But in lieu of the fire barrier, basically just from a financial hardship to them, the cost of this project, over $300,000 already for the greenhouse. And
a lot. And
What do you think?
Tell me
Any variable cost? Well, 75
for masonry, and I'm just guessing probably in the 45 to 50 range, possibly tearing off siding and doing what we have to do with the drywall.
Is there a reason that the building is built next to the metal building and it's not 5 feet off of it? Because there was no access door from the existing to that, right?
restrictions on, site.
Oh.
Restrictions of site, yeah, we're just within the very. I guess the biggest problem for me is, as a firefighter of 18 years, I have a hard time putting money into something that I know in my mind will never be tested. will never be tested.
I hope that you're right.
The product would never be in the place to, there never will be a fire load there to ever even test it. And that's why I have such an issue with it, because I don't want to go back on anything, but we followed the code in our Troy location, the pictures that you looked at before with the block wall, and we were forced to put in a fire door because we put an access directly into that building. And we did everything we needed to do. But when the inspectors came and they inspected the building, the fire inspector looked at me and he said, "Wow, that really shouldn't be there." And I said, "Yeah, you're right, it shouldn't." And why? Because the fusible link is mounted about 4 inches away from the plastic row. That fusible link will never melt if there's a fire on the outside. And if there's a fire on the inside and it melts, all it's doing is putting the door down and preventing people from getting out. And so it's really frustrating to think that I got to go through all these extra hoops and spend all this extra money when it's irrelevant in the true aspect of what the project is. Not going to be tested. And I hate to say it, but I just won't do the project if that's what it has to be, because I'm not going to throw any more good money at something that's not going to be used.
Okay. Well, you made the record, and honestly, you had the right to our decision. It's not true, but it's I'll lie of that. Grant the variance on those conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to you at this point. Here's what we'd like to do, right? I think Mr. England is saying, okay, let's not put the sprinkler system there. And fire official, which I'm assuming no, yeah, we don't need to go to the sprinkler system. The fire official letter is silent on the fire barrier, as if it wasn't discussed with them, so we don't know if he even is aware that a required safety system.
He's very much aware.
Okay, it wasn't in his letter. His letter didn't say anything about, oh, we don't need the fire barrier either. Mr. England thinks, hey, I'm okay with the sprinkler system not going in. I'm not okay with the fire barrier. So, that's us going way out on a limb, right? We are granting you a variance, right? You don't have to do the sprinkler system. We could uphold the thing and you have to do the fire barrier and the sprinkler system, right? So I think it's up to you whether or not you want us to grant a variance with these conditions, or if you'd rather have us just uphold the adjudication order.
Yeah, those are the options, or again, to go back to the well with Mr. England and maybe the fire official, see if there's an alternative. For the next time, Mr. England can say, yeah, we're comfortable with that approach. So let me ask a different question. These for this greenhouse, there's some type of clear, opaque, or Lexan or
Corrugated plastic.
okay. Can you order them in any different material?
Such as?
Metal?
I guess, to answer your, the plastic wall does not go between the structures. Only on the exterior, only what I would consider the exterior.
So the side of the greenhouse that abuts your existing building, what are those panels made of?
There aren't.
Three-sided building.
Okay, so it's a three-sided. But my question was, did you have metal panels instead of plastic panels? And that, while it's not necessarily a fire rated barrier, it gives some level of comfort.
But then
Which the metal's already there.
First set of panels on that side of the structure that they're tying into would have the top would have to be metal too then, right? That's what you're thinking.
I'm just trying to think of alternatives.
10 feet away from your existing building, so you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
I think I do, but there isn't any plastic coming into contact with the.
But the roof,
other than the roof,
yeah,
right.
So you'd have to make the first set of panels metal, maybe.
So that's all. It's poly and it's a hoop. It's not square. It's round. So it's.
Oh, so it's not the same one that you're showing on here.
structure. It is. The roof is a poly roof that is a hoop structure with this visqueen laid over the top of it.
Oh. It's almost like the salt, those salt buildings.
Yeah, membrane.
Covered,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's hard.
And again, that's the issue, you know, even like with the fire suppression, you could put a sprinkler system in there all you want, but it's gotta be 212 degrees, but depending on what system you put in, but 212 degrees before that sprinkler head's even gonna open up. I mean, my roof opens at 100 degrees to release the heat.
What are the wall made out of the same material?
So the walls are corrugated plastic.
Well, if you set you back down for the 7th, you could do it remote. If you think there's any chance that some creativity and advocacy with Mr. England might move the needle there.
Well, I'm basically hearing him say that he's not gonna move one way or the other.
He's not gonna
He's just gonna wait, he's just waiting for you to say, I agree with what you guys say, or I disagree with what you guys say.
Yeah, but so the way this works is building officials call balls and strikes. They don't have the discretion of the code. So nobody's quibbling with the way he adjudicated this. Most times, building official not code compliant. But if you did this or that, you know, city fire, township fire, county fire wouldn't have any heartbreak or heartache about it. You know, and we're a board of commerce. We'd like to see the stream of commerce go forward. But I mean, we're sort of at an impasse here because you've got this board that is stuck on that condition, which would be acceptable to the building official. But all they're saying is that there's an alternative that where everybody is simpatico, you got a pretty good chance next, what is it, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever it is, of walking out of here with a variance that may alleviate the firewall. But probably you have to give something, you know, you're not apt to get Mr. England just to run away with the firewall condition unless there's some alternative that gives him comfort. I just don't know if that's going to happen or not. And I don't want to tell you what to do. We're at a point where it's a hearing here, we've got to make a decision to public body, we're on record.
But fire officials do. Just the lives.
But he doesn't say anything about the, he says, hey, the sprinkler system's required. Without, instead of sprinkler system, an alarm system is good, he doesn't say anything about the firefighter.
Yes.
Did you have that conversation?
Absolutely. The fire.
He finds it to be impractical as well.
No, well, yes, he does. So the fire official is, county engineer by trade. He's very, as far as that goes, he looked into a lot of it. I do understand that you're saying that his letter doesn't call out the firewall. I mean, I can absolutely.
Well, then let's have him here.
Have him.
The 7th, or available to hear from.
But
it would also be helpful to know, I realize we put you on the spot with the tearing off or removing the steel sheeting and putting up drywall. What's the hard cost? I mean, what's your more exact?
You'd be in a better position on the 7th to be able to assess the hardship there.
And I did write fire barrier satisfaction with Mr. England. Mr. England says, hey, if you just do 2 layers on one side, I'll be happy with it. That might be the way to go too. So then that's.
I don't see how you do anything but potentially raise the ante for a short time out, but it may not. But otherwise, we're just going to have to make a decision. It's up to you. If you guys want to go up, you don't need to talk to me. You want us to go off the record, or you want us to go out all with them?
Yeah. I mean,
okay. I understand that, you know, not smiling, but you're reluctantly agreeable to having this thing continue. Mr. England, would you have any objection to it being continued?
Not at all.
Okay, my guess is your phone's gonna ring, relatively soon.
Right.
Full record, things have been vetted. Maybe we'll make some progress here. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, for Board of Building Appeals, case number 21-0141, I would move to continue.
Okay, and Susan, we can get it on the seventh, right? Made to continue as a second, all of them.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll set it down for the seventh. In Worcester, same rules apply. You can appear in person or you appear remotely. And then run up on it for any reason where the seventh is premature. You're getting close, but you're not quite ready yet. And you know that assuming you're gonna have all the same, I suppose we can wake up next week and have a different thought process, but probably not. You can continue that on request. Out to, another date. Carter, enough.
Thank you. Thank you.
Travels back.
Yep, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Uh-huh.
Let's just stay on the record here real quick. Let me do the continued, we have a Hillsborough case number 20-033, that was continued to December 20th. And then we have Highland Heights, case 21-0099, is withdrawn. And then we have, a Stowe matter, 21-0117, that has been withdrawn with caveat, that the appellant would like to have a refund of the filing fees. And then we also have one saying it's a Division of Industrial Compliance case, which is 21-0122, also withdrawn and seeking a refund. We'll start with the Stowe matter. Susan, those circumstances again are?
I think attached is an email between me and the applicant. I told him he could request a withdrawal, however, the notices have gone out, it's been docketed, it's been continued, I believe, and then rescheduled, so, but it's completely up to the board whether they'll grant a refund, but in most cases they don't after that's occurred.
I agree, it's been continued, it's like something that's popped up
And then withdrawn.
withdrawn, yeah.
Any compelling reason to refund this? Okay.
I would agree. I mean, normally we have that cut off, right? Susan has to send out notices and we're for costs.
I think when we refund, we deal with formal action. Do we need to deny?
Here I move case number 21-0117 to deny the appellant's request for a refund of their filing fee.
Okay, that motion's been made. Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the request is denied. And then with the division case 21-122, you can order those circumstances.
In this case, the division has withdrawn their adjudication order. It was issued in error. And I believe you also have the support of the division to grant the refund. There's a letter in there as well. So the owner has requested a refund.
But we can hear them on this thing.
It was continued last minute at the request of the division. They worked on it. They realized that they shouldn't have issued the adjudication order in the first place for the applicant to even have to appeal it. So now they're in support with, it's been terminated, it's been withdrawn, and the division believes that they should be granted a refund because the error was on them and not on the owner.
You have the team player? Come out of Jeff's holiday fund?
Aaron's.
Aaron.
That was legal counsel, I believe, that issued that.
And speaker.
Maybe with the caveat that we get a new camera and speaker.
Okay, I guess with the, division for falling on the floor here, I'd be okay to agree. I won't stand away. Contrary determination, but
Again, we just talked about being consistent. I mean, Susan processes it, she sends out notices, we get a continuance. I mean,
right, the distinction being that there's a thought that the division should, that the process should have been initiated.
Yeah.
As a result of the issue.
Right.
That's the significant distinction.
Right.
Or it's no distinction, I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, we are. Joe said we need to be compared. We're both members of the Department of Commerce. Right.
I guess I could hold my nose and vote for it.
You want to record your nose and make the motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
I want to hear this motion.
Mr. Chair, for Board of Building Appeals, case number 21-0122. I move to refund the appellant's filing fee.
Who's gonna hold their nose a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, all right. Okay, does not look like we have any new business to attend to other than we do need to, compensate ourselves. Is there a motion to do that for us today?
So moved.
And is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We approved minutes yesterday for the earlier November hearings. And, subject to, our next meeting will be December 7th, in Worcester, beginning at 9 a.m. At least as we know right now, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stand adjourned. Thank you, Sandy. Now, we will not see you in Worcester, right?
Is it okay if I send out some dates for January and February to you guys?
December 1st is tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
I probably will not be, I mean, depending on how busy December 7th is, I gotta be back in Columbus for a 1 o'clock deposition, so.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I gotta be back in Columbus for a 1 o'clock deposition, so.
You're gonna still go up morning? and
Yeah,
You gotta leave by 11 then, right?
probably.
Oh, we should be okay. On the 7th?
Yeah, we said that before.
Yeah. Hey, Carl, I think you missed one.
Huh?
210076, did you continue that? That's the dresser where we don't have a formal withdrawal? Sorry.
Yeah.